Okay.
Ryan.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. I'm Ryan, and I'd like to welcome you to the Blue Streak Podcast, Episode 5. Today, we've got the normal lineup of people. We got myself, Steven, otherwise known as Fat Boomer.
Oh, how you doing?
Jack Falloa of Arkansas Locomotive Works. Jack, say hello.
Yeah.
Fuck, I forgot to change.
What?
Keep going.
So, okay. And last, certainly not least, we've got Michael.
Hi, I forgot to change the thumbnail on it again, but who cares?
Oh, Michael, the third time in a row.
Anyways,
Actually, for me, it shows the correct thumbnail.
Well, no, on the YouTube end.
No, on the YouTube end, it shows.
I'm gonna cry.
Oh.
It's fine. Hello, NSB Productions. Anyways, we have no guests today, but we're gonna talk about Amtrak later on.
Friendly debate.
Yeah, friendly debate.
We
also
hate each other yet.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Railroad is bad.
And I hate you.
I hate you too. I hope you die in Unit 1968.
Oh,
Dude,
you
Great
idiot.
Roblox game.
Anyways, this is also probably going to be Ryan's last episode. Ryan, please explain.
We had a thumbnail.
I'm relocating to a place far away that I will not disclose the location to now. Everyone who's close to me should know it. But
It's Greenland.
I'm relocating to a place. Yeah, I'm going to Greenland.
Yeah.
He's going to Greenland.
Very cool.
I'm relocating to Greenland.
Everyone, please applaud. He's going to Greenland.
He's going to survive Greenland.
Ryan
Good luck,
Loebner,
Ryan.
Greenland Day.
Ryan goes to land.
Ryan Loebner, Greenland Day. Anyways.
I have a question. What does head ass mean?
A hole up?
Stubborn.
Head ass means a derogatory person whose constant social faux pas, obnoxious mannerisms, unrealistic expectations, and general ineptitude, rather than bothersome to an inordinate degree.
Yeah, my mom's mean. Alright. Thank you.
Anyways, does anyone have to say anything? Or we still don't know who we're gonna get to replace Ryan, or if we will even replace Ryan.
If anyone has to suggestions, type it in the chat of people you know or people.
Nicholas Clemens.
Yeah, Nicholas.
Okay, yeah, our decision is Nicholas Clemens.
We're going to close out the show with a little special, a special treat from Nicholas Clemens himself.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Anyways, that's my door closing because my dad came in to say goodbye because he has to go to Charlotte. But does anyone want to let's just start with what we did this week, because I have one hell of a story. But before that, Jack needs to tell us what the fuck.
What the fuck?
So you finally decided to banish Ryan to Greenland. Yes, Patrick, we did.
Yes, we did.
Patrick,
He's been very naughty.
Trust me, friend. Ryan is in Greenland. He will never, ever touch you again.
He's been very, very naughty.
That's correct.
Yeah.
We must punt him like a football to Greenland.
How would you? Well, I don't. You can't roll up in a ball.
Yes, he can. I've seen him do it.
That'd be a very big ball.
Yeah, but it can happen with the big balls.
Anyways, Jack, do you want to explain Abo Canyon to?
So I actually kicked my ass into rail fanning yesterday. It was kind of mediocre because I didn't really teach him much. That really because I was a little impatient and there were like flies flying around in my car. It was annoying as fuck. But I went down towards Belen and just south of there. And this is like a location just outside the Avo Canyon. It's pretty cool. Trains go by here and stuff. You had like a coal train here. It was pretty cool. And I went up to the Avo Canyon, which is very, I guess, infamous or famous, whichever is a good site for you. and saw a few trains there too. I also got my ass bamboozled by a train blocking on the other side of the tracks because they do left-hand running. I don't know why. It's weird as hell.
What is
But
this? The Chicago Northwestern?
apparently, yeah, this is the Chicago
Yeah,
Northwestern and New Mexico. And
You laugh, but
but yeah, it was a pretty good day. Also, notice on that bridge it says Hamburglar. Oh,
oh, the Hamburglar stole my train again.
he stole my
Oh, very
good
good.
shot at Avo Canyon.
Yeah, he stole.
That's it's on the U.S. Route 60 bridge. Oh, it's pretty cool. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was pretty good. Pretty good day. Pretty cool trains. I might go out again. I don't know.
All right.
Yeah, that's all.
Steven, have you done anything?
I've done nothing.
All right.
I actually know I went clothes shopping because the grandpa's like, Steven, we're gonna go buy you clothes at the Nike store because we're hip.
No.
I said, okay. So I wear my Georgia...
buy trains from Mohawk Sales like a real man.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said if I'm gonna buy clothes shopping, it'll be from Mohawk Design because it's based.
Well,
That's what I was saying. Because my grandparents are so cool, they first take me to like the influencer store, PacSun, Pacific Sun, and I go there with my
Paxton,
Georgia
Louisiana,
and Florida
Georgia
drip.
Pacific.
Yes, and I go there with my Georgia and Florida drip, which is a really nice like plaid green shirt with like a cool GNF logo, and it says Line to Progress, South Georgia, or something like that. It's pretty based. And I go there, and it goes like, dude, what brand is that, man? I'm like, oh, Valdosta, Georgia. She said, oh, nice.
This is
That was
it.
fun. And that's it. Nike store was extremely overpriced, and all the shirts shrunk, and now they don't fit me.
I should probably
So
share
Nike,
my
if
screen.
if I see Mr. John Nike in public, he's expecting a nice can of whoop ass. Cause
All right.
Very
Yeah,
good.
look at this. You need to get the GNF drip.
yes, that shirt is.
That's what gets you all the girls, gentlemen.
Yeah,
George-
the
if you
guy's
want-
that shirt.
If you want to get laid, you gotta get the Georgia and Florida railway
Listen,
shirt.
the Georgia and Florida is a rare that never should have been built, but it's also beautiful. Get H. Roger Grant, already an amazing author to begin with, has a great book on it. It's just clusterfuck of a railroad.
Buy your stuff from MohawkDesign.com. They're the greatest.
Spent 75% of its time in bankruptcy. Yay.
That's what I got, and that was my week. It was very fun.
All right.
Very good.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, also one more thing. I went to meet the teacher, and the school was just built, and as soon as we arrived, there was a gas leak and had to close it down.
All right.
Oh,
So
very
the
good.
fire department came, and for like an hour, they had to fix the gas leak, or else the fucking explode. That was fun.
All right.
Very good.
I have a
Alright.
story to tell you.
What about me?
Oh yeah, you,
What
Ryan.
about me?
Yeah, I'm about to say, my boy
Ryan, did you hold up? I'll get something up.
Yeah, I rode an Amtrak train
Oh, very good.
twice, and I'm here to give my official review.
I'm opening the
it
appropriate
was
photos.
Great. Yeah. Yeah. As you can see, I made the most of my Amtrak trip by indulging myself in a chalky milk and a
As you
Penn
do.
Central hat.
As you do.
Very good.
Because we are kings.
Every
We are
man a king.
civilized.
Yeah, every man a king.
Of course, the
So,
world's greatest
basically what-
railroad.
Yeah,
Unironically.
absolutely. 50 years of
Unironically.
great railroading.
50 years of great railroading.
So following that, let's see. Following that, I'd like to report that it was great. The seats were very comfortable, and overall, it was an enjoyable experience. I listened to a lot of music on the way there and the way back, and overall, it was great. However, Washington D.C. Union Station was a huge clusterfuck because of the power
Yeah.
change.
It's Washington D.C., and if you've seen it like in the flesh, it is a cluster of all different buildings.
Yeah, it's...
Yeah, because
They're all falling. These are all
like
collectively
half of it's
falling
on like a
apart.
different. Also, like half of it's on like a different level from another. What I can
Yeah.
tell,
Right, yeah,
right?
it's the classic American railroad station crumbling.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah, it
but
is.
hey, Ryan,
No, I shit
when
you not. There was.
in 5 years when
Oh, Michael.
Amtrak, I know the power change is really cool and hip for us rail fans, even though I never got to see a full one. I imagine it'd be quite infuriating if you actually want to get somewhere. Also, once Amtrak gets those weird dual FL9 train sets, whatever, Brightline, whatever they are,
Yeah,
dual
let's
dual.
put FL lines on service in the Northeast Corridor, guys.
I'm calling them a combination between an FL9 and a Brightline train set because that's what they are because they're dual
And they're
mode.
based. I love them. I
Yeah,
can't wait to
when that happens, you won't have to worry anymore, Ryan. You
I mean,
passengers.
the thing was,
Insane.
the train was left without power for like 20 minutes because there was like issues or something.
Ryan,
So the whole train
that's
was left.
baby talk.
Like, what happened was also that the passengers inside, they're like, "Why is the light out? Is the train
Why
derailing?"
lights? Are we derailing?
Are we dying?
Are we dead?
Oh shit, is this hell? It's a lot more than I
Ryan,
Well, yeah,
thought.
it's Washington D.C.
Ryan, that was me on the airplane back home from San Antonio. They had to turn off the lights because we were having trouble in the Gulf Stream and I was literally shitting myself.
Oh, please, but that's normal though. Fucking
Exactly, but I
like,
don't fly a lot, so I was literally like
That was the
Yeah,
thing
don't
when
fly.
I was flying home from Pennsylvania. We were because you know it's the desert. You don't expect rain, but no, there was a fucking thunderstorm, and we were
Nice.
shaking. We were like doing the nay and everything.
doing the nay-nay. How do we do the nay-nay with an airplane?
We were hitting the nay. It was raining.
Jack,
And, there was
Jack,
lightning everywhere, and I cried.
Jack, bringing up those quality 2015 memes.
Also, Ryan, you were lucky because I told you on the way back from Richmond they forgot to turn my coach's power back on, so we had no AC and no lights for 2 hours on the
That's
RMP.
great.
I almost took an
that's
Amtrak.
bait.
I almost took the Crescent to Atlanta this week, but I didn't because I want to stay home for more than one day at a time.
What's after our recollections?
Do you want the Crescent story or the Atlanta adventure?
No, it's your turn for today's week.
on,
So
guys.
I went with my dad.
I'll be right back.
Okay. I went with my dad to Atlanta, as I normally do, because he works in Atlanta and Carolina, and we went there, and I brought a whole bunch of camera equipment, and I never got to use any of it. But we were in Atlanta, and we passed by the new Norfolk Southern headquarters, which is just a glass box.
Nice,
Wow.
nice.
As
It's
all
glass McDonald's bag. That's what it is.
as all modern headquarters were. I did want to go up to the Norfolk Southern headquarters and take a picture in front of the sign, but I unfortunately never got to do that. So that's yeah. All right.
Okay, very good.
So we go to Sharpsburg and we see some friends, and I sleep there for a night, and then we wake up, we spend most of the day there, and then we're going to Rupert, which is a fuck all middle of nowhere siding on the A, B, and C. It also has more friends, family friends there. So I start driving. I actually start driving, and I begin driving to location,
Manchester.
and I stop in Manchester, Georgia.
Oh boy.
Ryan, did you want to say something?
No, this is a riveting story. Continue.
Oh, it gets both better or worse. Let me just figure out something real quick.
For those who don't know the importance of Manchester, Georgia, that's where the Atlanta line of the old A, B, and C, and the Birmingham line of the old A, B, and C.
So yeah, Rupert to Sharpsburg. Sharpsburg to Rupert is about 1 hour 38 minutes.
It's not
So
bad.
it's about 84 miles. So I stop in Manchester. I saw on one end they have an old mill building, like an old factory that's torn down. And on one of the old spurs, there's actually an original A, B, and C wooden caboose. I don't think I have a picture of that. No, I don't. And then, what else? So what ends up happening is what's it called? We go over to this. I see this beautiful Manchester Depot, sponsored of course by the Atlantic Coastline and Seaboard Airline Historical Society. And the first
to my boys there, they're based.
the first thought upon seeing this is like, my first thought is, this is a place Danny Harmon would come. Anyway, so we hightail out of Manchester and we reach Woodland, Georgia. Now, at least I'm pretty sure it's Woodland. It might be somewhere different. I think it's Woodland.
There's a big ass grade there. It's based.
Actually, no, it's not Woodland, Georgia. It's fuck, is it Talbotton? It's Talbotton. So we go to Talbotton, right? And at Talbotton, we need gasoline. Oh, by the way, there's a train here. I saw it depart. It had a bunch of cool freight cars, and that's really it. Including, I don't have a picture of it up, damn it, but a Richmond, Fredericksburg, and Potomac grain hopper.
Very nice.
Ooh.
That's
So
big.
we go to Talbotton, Georgia, or Talbotton, or I don't know how you pronounce it.
It's Talbotton.
Talbotton?
Yeah, because it's in Talbot County, so it's Talbotton.
Talbotton? Okay. And then we stop at a place called Marathon Gas. And I know Marathon Gas because me and Dad stopped there at like 2 a.m. one time, heading back to Atlanta. And I also know there because there's this fucking dilapidated Piggly Wiggly that's just like crumbling and abandoned. For those who don't know, it's a grocery store, basically.
Yes, it's the most southern thing on earth.
It's the most southern grocery store on earth. Beats
It
out
really
Publix.
is.
In a little southern town, you have a
Okay,
Piggly
okay.
Wiggly, the courthouse, and Cotton.
Okay.
And
okay,
Dollar
hold on,
General.
might I just say?
Yes,
Might
and
I
Reese's.
just say? Might I just say? It is automatically the most southern thing because its name is fucking Piggly Wiggly.
Anyways,
Okay, go now.
Who in
This-
your right mind would
this dilapidated
who would
ass.
shop at a fucking Piggly Wiggly?
It's actually a really good grocery store,
It is
unironically.
good.
Anyway, so this is Talbotton, and we stop right
Name is
here.
Piggly Wiggly. It's automatically cursed.
Here's the dilapidated Piggly Wiggly. Let me take you on the full immersive experience.
Nice Piggly Wiggly there, bucko.
Yeah, look at that. It's broken. We stopped here. And anyways, through this area right here, you can see that there are railroad tracks, and I see a train. And I'm like, okay, cool. The train is going. So me and my dad, we drive and we turn onto Clark Street, right? And we get stopped right here at this crossing. And at this crossing, the train is about halfway through the crossing, most of the way through the crossing, and I notice that this train has boxcars, a bunch of green boxcars at the end, belonging to a railroad called the Minnesota, what is it? Minnesota, Dakota, and Western, which is a 4-mile short line that hauls nothing but paper in International Falls, Minnesota, which is directly on the Canadian border. And
One could say it's a paper road.
I mean, yeah. And the funny thing about this railroad is its only connection is through Canada. There's no connection to the rest of the US rail network. So if you want to get a rail car from International Falls, Minnesota to anywhere else in the United States, you have to go through Canada. So
Great.
we start going down, and we reach this crossing right here. And at this crossing, we pull up, and we hear the horn, and we get stopped by the train again. And this is the video that I took of the train. YN2, pretty
Very nice.
epic.
Based.
Yeah, it's mostly just, at first I thought it was a grain train, then it's like, oh, there's some cool stuff on it. There's a cool car. There's a brand new GTA Xbox car, like a brand new one.
Nice.
Like
Yeah,
not a hint of
Ooh.
rust, grime, weathering, nothing.
I love the scheme they have on the GTX class.
And then the fuckers themselves,
The Mumpets.
the Muppets.
Where are they?
Fucking yep.
It's the 311 Discord.
Yeah, there they are.
Oh,
the
hello.
the MD and W box cars. And I'm like,
Those are nice.
this is the same train. We get caught by the same train. And me and my dad at this point, because I'm the one driving and my dad's sitting in the seat, he just starts joking around like, oh, this train is going to make us stop at every single... And we pretend that we're like, oh, we're hitting on the same exact train, trying to get us and whatnot. And we don't think we're going to see this train again. Anyways, I continue driving.
It was Junction City, very nice.
I continue driving. Yeah, we drive past this Martin Marietta quarry in Junction City. Now, I'm having my eyes on the road. We're driving down this road. Sun's starting to get dark. We're driving down this road, and out of the corner of my dad... I don't spot it. But out of the corner of my dad's eye, he sees that. And he says, Michael, there's a really weird, locomotive because my dad doesn't know a lot about railroads. He does make an effort to learn, which I think is pretty nice. But
Which is why he's based like my dad.
yeah,
Yeah.
but he says I don't know if it's weird or not. You gotta show me. So there's no one else at this Martin Marietta quarry, and we begin to pull in, and I notice these two things.
Those
don't-
are U-boats I never saw.
Oh my god.
There are two U-boats just sitting here. I didn't want to get
On the
out.
top of the hill.
I didn't. Yeah, they're looking over the entrance to the Martin Marietta quarry in
They're looking
Junction
over
City,
at you in
Georgia.
disappointment, like, oh, foolish
They're
mortal.
watch. They watch.
Yeah, I didn't get out. I didn't get out. I just took picture from the car. But I made an epiphany because a long time ago, back in March, we did a trip to Georgia with
One second,
Brandon and
everyone.
Jake, and it was in Ideal, Georgia, where they had I think it was a large co-op, like a Tyson Foods co-op, and they had a remote control S2 switcher. So after seeing this, I'm like, what other weird... Because industries always have the weirdest stuff. They always have the weirdest locomotives. And I at the back of my mind, I'm thinking, every single industry must have something, like, absolutely, like fifth-hand, bizarre-ass locomotive. Anyways. So we continue. And well, we actually drove up to Highway 96, which is right here, turned around, and then we drove back to the quarry, got out, and saw it. So we begin to go on Highway 96 through Junction City. And then where are the railroad
Okay.
tracks?
Hello, I'm back.
Guess
Hello,
what
I'm back.
we
Continue.
guess who we see
The
right
same
here.
fucking train from
The same train. We passed the solar farm and we're pacing him. We're chasing him this entire time. So we finally split off near Butler and we actually begin to go down. And for to save, actually I don't think we saw him here. We saw him up Junction City. Yeah, because that's the central of Georgia. We saw him over here.
Kirby, S, A, B, and C, yeah.
Yeah, we saw him through Junction City, not over here. Not through Howard. That's the central of Georgia. And to just save, I'm not going to show you any further because that would be a violation of. I don't want you to show where exactly I went because it is epic. So we get to the area which we're wanting to go. We get to the house, the hunting lodge that my dad's friend owns, and it's right next to the A, B, and C. So we drive up to the crossing in my dad's truck, and we see him. We see him parked right there, and right in front of us is the Minnesota, Dakota, and Western boxcars. And I decide I have never been so happy and angry to see a train in my life. This train, has trolled on me for 50 miles. Well, at this point, I need to take a leak. So you can probably guess what I did on the Minnesota, Dakota, and Western boxcar.
You pissed in a boxcar.
Yep, my first thought was, this is a very Steven Oshesky thing to do.
I have enough respect to not piss in a boxcar.
But
okay.
But only those belong to Minnesota,
You're
Dakota,
iconic.
and Western.
Michael, you're iconic.
Yeah. Anyways,
Thank you, Michael.
This is up here with just yeeting the chair.
yeah. So we drive back to the hunting lodge. A bunch of people are there. I decide that I want to go out and I want to see this damn thing leave for the final time because it was trolled on me for I don't think 50 or so, probably closer to around 30 miles or so. So I get on the ATV, and it is having a real hard time. It's only going about 10 miles an hour, and I make it halfway, and I realize, yeah, this thing isn't going to make it, because this thing is normally supposed to go like 25 miles an hour top speed. It's barely breaking 10. So I turn it around, I bring it back to the shed, and right in front of the shed, it dies on me. So I go out to the other. Now there's another. How the shed is set up is that it's 2 stalls, and it's longer than it is wide. So there's 3 ATVs parked in the right hand stall. There's one that's all the way further back that I know for certain works. However, I can't get to it. There's another one that's electric that's right in front of it, and then there's the one that I took. So I'm thinking, I can just take the electric one. And turns out its battery is dead. So
Very good.
You've walked this trip, huh?
yeah, so it gets crazier. So I decide all right, I'm just gonna give up. I'm not gonna see this thing leave. But from over the hills, I can hear it. The DPU, just and its engine mocking me, saying, "Ha ha, fuck you, I got you." So I go in, I put like 2 potatoes in like a pot because I'm still hungry at this point. I eat the potatoes. They're undercooked. I undercook them. I was rushing. And then we decide, because a bunch of people are here, we decide one of us on a trail cam sees. Here's one of the dogs, by the way.
Nice.
One of us sees a pig because this is a pig hunting lodge. My dad's friend, he hunts pigs, wild boar. So we see a
Peggy
wild
Hunter,
boar.
very good.
Wild boar are actually incredibly invasive. They're an incredibly invasive species, and they breed like crazy. So
Different.
yeah,
Very
it's
good.
not like you could send out 100 people for like, and their specific job is to hunt wild boar, and you probably wouldn't be able to catch, like, you wouldn't even be able to make a dent. Yeah, Georgia has been waging a war against wild boar for the past 200 years. So we decide we're gonna go.
The new Emu War remake is looking great, by the way.
Yeah. So we decide we're gonna go out, and it's 2 other guys. And well, the guy who owns the place, his name is Raul, and his son is Zach. So I go out with Zach and one other guy. And we go out, we hop on the electric ATV, because at this point, a couple of hours have passed and it's all charged up. So we go out, with guns in our hands. I have like a 22 rifle, and it's great. And we go out into the middle of the woods to find this boar and kill it, because we're bored out of our minds. Now, I'm going to tell you this. Going through the woods, riding in the back of the woods, in the middle of the night, where the only light around is the moon, with 2 other people, it's a really surreal experience.
It's terrifying. Honestly.
It's not terrifying. I loved it. The
To
sounds of nature, and for some reason the constant sounds of train horns, because apparently at like 12 o'clock at night, CSX decided to send like 8 billion trains upon the bustling metropolis that is Rupert, Georgia.
Yeah.
So we finally get out there. We get as far as we can with the ATV, and we get off, and we begin walking around trying to find this thing. And we have like it's the easiest thing in the world, because we have night vision, and we have like thermal cameras and whatnot, and we can't find this thing, so we just say, screw it, we're just gonna go back to the house and go to bed. On our way back, we see this lad hanging. Well, Zach spots this lad hanging up in the middle of the trees.
It's Owl City, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's the owl, and well, here he
Cool.
is. This is
He was
The
not
owl
believe
from
your
Owl
owl.
Calls.
yeah,
It's the real owl calls from North America.
This is the real owl calls for North America, and guess what? We wanted to get it to hoot. So all 3 of us, unironically, just start making owl calls at it for like 5 minutes in the
The
middle of the woods, in the middle of
Prophecy is
nowhere,
true.
like 12 o'clock at night. So yeah,
That's
that
beautiful.
was
The prophecy is true.
that was really fun. But yeah, overall rating about being out in the middle of the woods with 2 other people at like midnight, it's not as scary. It's not really all that scary. Being out in the woods by yourself, I think, is pretty unnerving.
That is terrifying.
Yeah, at night. But when you're with other people and you have guns, it's actually quite a nice and kind of surreal and kind of enchanting experience. Anyways, I wake up super late the next morning, and me and Zach decide, all right, we're gonna try again, because he found another pig. So we get the dogs, 4 hound dogs and 1 pit bull, and we begin to go hunting this pig. Now, how this works is that pig hunting is more dog training than anything else, because you basically find one, send the dogs after it, the dogs chase it for like 2 hours, and then you intercept it at like a road or something, and then you send the pit bull after it. The pit bull catches them by the ear, and then you go in and you actually like catch the pig itself. The dog doesn't kill the pig; it just catches them.
That's easy enough.
As I said, it's more dog training than anything else. It also requires a bit of patience and a good internet connection, because you're using GPS to track all your dogs. So we
Okay.
do this, and then we try for a few hours, and it just doesn't work. It doesn't work out again. So I decide that near here there's a little church, and I decide I'll take the ATV out and I'll go see the church. So I go out and I see the church, and it's nice and small, and I begin playing some Johnny Cash gospel songs because very epic. And then
Church.
yeah, it's the church isn't open, unfortunately. It was closed. And I get this really surreal experience where I just start hearing like gospel music and it's not coming from me. And nobody I know no someone must have been there. But the place looked so dead that like I knocked on the door several times and nobody opened. But it was a really weird kind of surreal experience. But that's where that I come back. That's that section. I come back and I decide. Well, we decide we want to go out to lunch because it's like 2 o'clock and we haven't eaten anything. So we decide that we want to go to I think. Damn it, where is it? It's South Rupert, I think. Not Ideal. Tazewell, Georgia, because apparently there's a grocery store there with really good food. So we decide to go out there. I go out with Zach, and he still has his dogs with him in the back of his truck. So we get out there, and we get out to Tazewell or whatever, and we go into the grocery store. And we come out, and Zach checks on his dogs, and there's this one poor hound dog he's on the floor. Like, we're pretty sure he had a heat stroke. So Zach panics. We all panic, and we all go out. The nearest vet is in Buena Vista, Georgia, which is just south of Tazewell. And we go there, and we call for a vet. Turns out the vet is closed. We're like, oh shit. We begin to check, and turns out, practically, for some reason, this was a Saturday, I think. Or, no, this was Friday. And for some reason, no, this was yesterday, damn it, actually. All this happened yesterday, by the way. Every single vet in South Georgia, in South Central Georgia, the entire region is closed. We check in Columbus, everything's closed. We check in Americus, everything is closed. The nearest vet that was open is in Macon, which is 50 miles away, and it's 1 hour away. And this part of Georgia has a lot of veterinarians because almost everyone has a dog of some kind that they use for, like, you know, comfort or hunting or whatnot. So why today are all the vets closed? So we get to Buena Vista. My dad and Raul are there, and he goes in to a Mexican like grocery store because there are a lot of Hispanics in this part of Georgia, including Raul. He's Cuban, and he goes in, and we buy honey, we buy Gatorade, we buy sugar water, and several other things because he's had stuff like this has happened to him before, so he knows what to do. We come out, we get the dog, we begin to try to feed it honey, so he has sugar, so his brain could start working, and the sugar water and the Gatorade with the electrolytes. We get like buckets of water. We go to the local Piggly Wiggly. We get towels and cold water and ice, and we just try and cool this dog down. So finally, Zach realizes that if this dog is going to make it, he's going to need to go to Macon. So he hightails it for Macon. We go back. We stay in Buena Vista. We get some barbecue on the corner. That was really good barbecue. We begin to go back to the ranch, and on our way back, we get stopped by a train, and the train was parked. It was waiting for another train. So Raul calls CSX and tells him to hurry the fuck up, as he normally does. So we decide, screw this. We're gonna go to the next crossing where the train won't be there. We know for certain. So we go to the other crossing. And as soon as we drive across the other crossing, the other train comes. And this guy was going ridiculously fucking quick. And
Oh, very good.
I at the end I joked to Raul, yeah, your call your call might have worked because this train was going easily 10 miles an hour over the speed limit.
Very nice.
So we get back. I'm exhausted by this point. I lay down. I think everyone just kind of sits around watching television and whatnot. And then we get the call. Zach did indeed make it to Macon. However, the dog unfortunately died.
Oh, rest in peace. What was
yeah.
his name?
I actually, Curly. He was like
Curly. Rest in peace, Curly.
Yeah, rest in peace, Curly. Zach comes back. He's quite sad. He has to bury the dog. I personally didn't want to see it and whatnot. But in order to calm my nerves, I decide I'm gonna go rail fanning. Because all this is like not even half a mile from a railroad track, from the A, B, and C. Fitzgerald sub, CSX. So I go out rail fanning. And I go out all my usual spots, and I check all the signals, and they're all red. And while I go out to a new spot, well, actually, while I check the signals, I see this lad, a massive turtle.
Very nice.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, a massive turtle. Yeah. Another... Hold up. Fuck. I don't have any more. Anyways, I go out to another spot. And me and Steven, I started thinking, because Steven, with his Georgia Pacific Railway, has a line that goes through here, and I found out exactly where he goes through. He crosses the A, B, and C, and I called him and whatnot. And eventually, I decide to go back, because we kind of have to get going back up towards DC. But not before I noticed that, for some reason, Raul has these two pieces of rail. So naturally, I ask, can I have them? And he said, sure. So, gentlemen, the Tavares Gulf has taken another step to becoming more real, as we have acquired rail.
No, it's mainline. We have two pieces of mainline.
Yes!
Very good.
My dad joked that we were the shortest short-line railroad ever.
No, Michael, what I have to do is place them on a single tire piece of wood, exactly 4 foot 8.5 inches in between, and that's our main line.
That's what that's what I'm doing. I want to do that in my backyard.
But it's a backyard railroad.
We leave around 7. We drive until, well, here's another thing though. We begin driving, and I lay down in the back. And then about halfway through, I need to go to the bathroom. So we stop at a grocery store. And I go into not the grocery store, convenience store. I go into the convenience store, and I go into the bathroom. And as if the stuff with the church and the dog and all that hasn't shaken me enough. You know how there's like, in many public restrooms, there's like the paper that you can put on the toilet seat and whatnot. Yeah. Well, above, there was one of those containers, and on it said something along the lines of, like, please don't delay, like, come to Jesus, I beg you. And at this point, I'm thinking the stuff with the church and the dog and everything, and I know this might sound ridiculous to some, but I'm starting to put together things in my head. And I'm not shocked, I'm more bewildered and kind of amazed that all of these things happened today. So I walk back to the car very slowly, just thinking about everything and whatnot. I lay down and I begin watching Chris Chan comprehensive documentaries. Yes, I've been rewatching that. Meanwhile, we get to a hotel. I can't remember where. All I know it's near Duluth, the Southeastern Railway Museum. Unfortunately, I couldn't go there. And I go in, I shower, and I start browsing on my phone and whatnot, and Steven, to top things all off, the top video that YouTube decided to recommend to me at this very moment was You Gotta Walk That Lonesome Valley by Mississippi John Hurt. Just to top this entire thing off, that's the video you decide to recommend to me today. Now, I know this may sound crazy to some. I legitimately think, and I know this sounds absolutely insane, but I legitimately think that, like, God or some higher power was trying to tell me a message that day. There was also, like some...
dog
I-
dying,
I-
a dog dying, gospel music, a church, and a giant tortoise.
Yeah, I don't know no trains, and yet being blocked by trains, and I don't know. So we wake up this morning at 4:30, and we need to get back to Virginia by 3 o'clock. And on the way, someone brought up Pocket Trains, which is a phone game I used to play when I was a kid. So I reinstall Pocket Trains, and I start playing. So that's basically the only virtual stuff I've done. I got home, I went to an escape room, thing with 3 of my friends with Nick, and
It was fun.
yeah, it was very fun. We actually got out of it, which was really nice. And then we go get
Oh,
pizza. We go get
In
pizza.
Leesburg?
Yeah, it was in Leesburg. And we go get pizza, and we actually eat pizza in the old Washington and Old Dominion Leesburg Freight House, because in the 1970s it was moved to downtown Leesburg, and now it's a pizza place. And they actually have a bunch of old
Very good.
pictures that even I haven't seen of the Washington Old Dominion. It also, above me, happened to be the picture of the shitfuckers themselves. The streamlined gasoline-powered train set that the WNOD owned that was complete garbage. So, that was...
Weren't they ex-Pennsylvania?
They were ex-Pennsylvania. So that has been my past 2 days and a half. Feels like a lifetime.
Michael, you really have to write a book about your experiences in Georgia and all that.
Yeah, that's...
Because they're just like wildly inspiring.
The Georgian.
The Midnight Hog Hunt of Georgia.
Yeah, I don't know what I'd call it or whatnot. Oh, I probably shouldn't put OBS up right there.
What's background, by the way?
Oh, I noticed
Penn
background.
Central and
That's
SP?
San Antonio.
It is?
Wait, no.
No,
never
that's
mind.
Selkirk. Or
I was about to
Hollidaysburg.
say, wait a minute. That's because the shops look so big.
Why? Wait,
What?
okay, if that's Selkirk or Hollidaysburg, why are those SP units there?
I don't know. They are.
Ryan, we did that a lot with railroads they connected with. On the SCL, there were a lot of SP units in Florida.
Yeah.
One was actually
Well,
involved in a derailment.
Technically, all of the run-through power was Cotton Belt, which makes it the situation even more based. But I really like the photo. Also, L-shaped window. That's all I have to say.
It's crying.
Anyways, does
Crying
anyone
as a
else?
lobster.
Ah, it's crying.
Does anyone else have any other stuff they want to share before we go?
No.
We're gonna go into rail news today.
no.
One
we'll
more
do the
thing.
interest
One more
debate.
thing.
Oh,
One
Ryan
more
has
thing.
something.
Talking about coincidences. Talking about coincidences. I attended mass for the first time in a year and a half, and the opening hymn number was 587.
This is a very biblical week for us.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I don't
You know, with
mind.
my grandmother
Yeah,
dying and
so
everything
I-
else and all that's very biblical.
I actually don't mind.
So I think that some higher power is trying to communicate with us something. I'm not
Everyone
sure
open up your
what.
hymn book to
but-
Johnny Cash, Cocaine Blues, and play away.
I think when I was at the church, I played Greystone Chapel and You Turned Water into Wine. I think those were the two Johnny Cash gospel songs I played. But
I would have played Man Comes Around. He is the best one he did, in my opinion. Also, the last song he wrote, fun fact.
Huh.
Okay, what now? Oh yeah, rail news, right?
anyways, does
Enlighten
anyone?
us, Michael.
All right. So Steven, I've been teasing this to you.
Yeah, show me, damn it, you fucking rat.
Do you know what this is?
No, I do not. Is that a Seaboard Airline coach? I'm not.
No, that's
is it-
Western Maryland Scenic.
No,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
nope.
that's
It's
the
even better. It's even Steven. It's something. It's a very comes from a very based railroad. In fact, one of the
I don't know
most.
what it is.
It's in the South.
Is that Georgia?
Central Georgia.
Yes.
Is that?
Really?
Oh,
where,
is that-
where is it being
It-
used? Where is it at? TBR?
So-
What is that?
That's the Cuyahoga Valley.
What is it
No, no,
called?
no, 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 no,
That's
no,
gonna
no,
be-
no. So let me just read the headline, to you, which is Southern Appalachia Railway Museum reunites man o' war equipment. Acquisition of combined Fort Mitchell gives museum complete 1945 Central of Georgia train set. So the Southern Appalachian Railway Museum is Oak Ridge, Tennessee. For the past 30 years they've had a project going on, which is basically to acquire every single car that was built for the Central of Georgia Man o' War, which was a pocket streamliner between Atlanta and Columbus, Georgia.
via the most scenic route the Central Georgia had. It used RS3s as helpers. It was an incredibly based train.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
So the train ran between 1945 and I think 1971.
Yeah, it survived for a student. No, like late 60s, like 68, 69, somewhere around there.
So yeah,
It was one of the last trains to use Atlanta Terminal Station.
yeah. So this was the project of Chris Williams, who was a guy at Southeastern Railway, wrong museum, Southern Appalachia, who he unfortunately died in 2016. But by that point, they had acquired 3 out of 4 cars because it was only a 4-car train set. Fort Mitchell, Fort Pearson, Fort Oglethorpe, and Fort Benning. This specifically is Fort Mitchell. It came from the Cuyahoga Valley Scenic Railroad. But they've currently restored Fort Oglethorpe, and they're going to restore Fort McPherson next.
Are they all in Central Georgia colors?
Original Central Georgia colors, yeah, exactly.
So, but the Man of War didn't have a color social like that, but with the orange stripe and the Central, oh, it was so hot.
Yeah,
so fucking hot.
Yeah, I kind of hope they get like a Central Georgia, like it doesn't have to be exact Central.
No, we don't have a Southern unit. They can just paint it into Central.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That's probably what they're gonna do, knowing them.
Yeah.
But anyways, Michael's incredibly based. Now I really want to go to Knoxville to see that Three Rose Rambler.
Yeah. Anyways, what else? Those are 2 Amtrak articles. I guess we could go on to Uinta Basin. So if you guys don't know, there is a project which has been going on for a few years now called the Uinta Basin Project, which is basically in Utah County, Utah. Can't make this shit up. Between Utah. They want to build a line between Colton, Utah, and Utah County, Utah, and Uinta County, also in Utah, because there's a massive amount of oil in Uinta County, and they determined that the only feasible way to actually get it out is by train. So they want to build an 85-mile... Yeah, they want to build an 85-mile road connecting with Union Pacific and Colton, Utah. And they first talked about this in 2012. In 2014, the project was approved, and for the past, I think, 2 years at this point, the Surface Transportation Board has been doing a environmental study, basically saying what would be the impacts on the environment. And they determined that...
There would be no more oil.
Well...
Simple.
And...
There'd be no more oil.
I mean, yeah, they want to build a railroad out there, but... They finally completed the environmental study, basically saying that the railroad itself, not the oil extraction, just the railroad, would have... if precautions were taken, it would be have very limited impact on the environment, and they also chose the least environmental. It's called the Whitmore Park route, which is actually more expensive to build because it has more tunnels, but it impacts the environment the least. And this railroad, the STB still actually has to approve the construction of this line. The current chair of the STB, he actually opposed the environmental study, like them approving the environmental study, so I don't know how well that might bode for the actual construction of this line. But if it's all said and done, it should be open in 2023, and it should also benefit Union Pacific, because that would give more traffic, a lot of oil traffic, to the former Denver Rio Grande Western. And fun fact, the people who want to operate this are the same people who tried to buy Tennessee Pass at the beginning of this year, if you remember that.
I do remember that.
Yeah, that clusterfuck. Anyways, another news. Unfortunately, this is incredibly terrible news. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it for you. They're coming out in droves. The foamers, the wine moms. It's begun.
Wine mobs.
4414's 2021 tour is beginning.
Okay, every fucking news outlet from here in like St. Louis, it's always gonna be, what is it? It's either interview with Ed Dickens or it's fucking local steam engine building steam.
Local steam engine fucking
railroad back on track with steam engine.
Yeah,
that was actual articles. I saw something like that when like 2926 did his test run. There's like so many weird articles like that.
Yeah, so it's
local.
It's going from Cheyenne over the former main line, and then from Cheyenne to North Platte over the UP main line, from Fairbury to Kansas City over I think that was, damn it, I forget the name of the railroad. It was some UP subsidiary. Down the MKT to Fort Worth, and then down the Mopac to Houston. Then up the Mopac from Houston to New Orleans.
New Orleans, damn.
Yeah, and then up the TNP to Shreveport, and then up the Mopac again to St. Louis. 0 out of 10, no cotton belt, fuck you.
Well,
And
to
then-
be fair, okay, Michael, the way the reason why they would do it like that is because it's going north, and the way they have the system set up like that.
I know about the directional running on the cotton belt. I think it would stab. As a cotton belt fan, if I didn't know that, I would kill myself. Not actually though. Then it's going west from St. Louis to Kansas City, and then from Kansas City to Denver on the former Kansas Pacific, which is a line that I'm pretty sure only sees like 2 trains a day, maybe. Santa Fe one.
Mopac?
No, the former Kansas Pacific in Kansas City and Denver.
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, it was mostly a coal railroad.
It's a shame because it was originally going to go to Eureka and then it died.
There was a rumor last year that Union Pacific was looking to sell it, but that clearly didn't go through. But it was mostly a coal route in recent years, which is coal railroad in 2021. But that's it. For the fat fuck.
The fuck. It's just the fuck.
Anyways, going from a tragedy, going from a Union Pacific tragedy to a Union Pacific triumph. If you haven't been watching the news, California is currently on fire.
Yeah,
because California makes such a big deal. They can't manage their own environment all that too well, especially when it comes to forest fires, because they don't do controlled burns, but that's a whole nother thing. Anyways, one of the bridges that was wiped out was the Dry Canyon Bridge near Redding, California, former Southern Pacific. And Union Pacific, they wanted to get this bridge back up, because until then, trains had to go all the way via Salt Lake, and then there was another bridge on that line that also got burnt down. It was a much smaller bridge, but it still burnt down, so they had to reroute all the way through Denver and some ridiculous. So naturally, there was a lot of pressure on Union Pacific and to actually get this up and running from shippers and governments and whatnot. And they wanted it to be open by September 1st. And Union Pacific Maintenance Forces pulled off what I think is a miracle that we can all compliment them for, which is they got both bridges, open a month early. Of course, after they built it and they got the FRA inspections and whatnot, the FRA deemed, yes, you can run over this, it's safe. They opened the bridge, and it's quite impressive because Union Pacific, if you look in this picture, they had to build an entirely new road out to this in order to actually build it and whatnot. And they also had, it's not in this picture, but they also had to build another 50-foot bridge to cross a creek because the bridge over that also burnt down. So Union Pacific built 2 bridges, basically.
Huh.
Very nice.
So I think we can all compliment on this. Ketty Y is still unfortunately on fire, but yeah. Let's see.
Normal.
Another story. So the reason why I have so many stories this week is 2 of them were shorter stories. And 2 of them were shorter stories. Also, 2 of them kind of lead into our discussion topic for this week, which is Amtrak in general. So this is an update on the Chicago, Rock Island, and Pacific Railroad. The what's it called? The Rock Island Rail, and they have acquired a former Louisville Nashville observation car, which served on the Crescent and later the Gulf Wind. And they plan to fix it up a little bit, and they plan to if you want to book something on this car, like an excursion on this car, like you want to rent it out and attach it to the back of an Amtrak train, that's what this is for. I don't know if it's going to be painted up in Rock Island or is it just going to remain L&N Royal Street. We don't know that yet. But it will be on the City of New Orleans going to Chicago on December 10th. So if you live along the Illinois Central, go ahead. Now, the Rock Island Rail has also made some very epic improvements because the Rock Island Rail's entire thing is buying up shitty railroads and making them good again. So, a couple months ago, they bought a line in Gulfport, Mississippi, a 5-mile line. They named it the Gulf and Ship Island Railroad, which is an Illinois Central predecessor. So they're bringing back another railroad. And this line was out of service, but for the past 2 months, they have been restoring it, and they sent their GP-15 down there, and now it's in service, which is very good. They also are restoring the Great River Railroad, which runs between Rosedale, Mississippi, and Greenville, Mississippi. And this line has been out of service since 2001, and they're working on getting it back into service. They've cleared a lot of the brushes, but there's still no estimated complete date. Apparently, Robert J. Riley, the CEO, says he's still looking out for more railroads he wants to buy, which is very epic. So that's that. The last two stories, these are kind of bigger stories, but they lead into our discussion topic. Sorry, trains. I'll just get that open right there. Basically, more support for CSX buying out Pan Am Railways, as the Northern New England Passenger Rail Authority has backed the deal. Now, this is very important because fucking Amtrak said that they opposed the deal because it would cause effects on Amtrak trains. But this group, they sponsor the Downeaster between Portland and Boston, and they support it. So that kind of makes Amtrak's whole thing kind of a moot point. So whatnot. So that's rather nice to see. Railroads and Amtrak coming together. Now, another situation where freight railroading, and Amtrak doesn't coming together is if you haven't been realizing, you don't know, Amtrak wants to start a new regional service between Mobile and New Orleans. And CSX and NS opposed this because Amtrak said that they could start the service in 2022 without any improvements along the line. They could just use the line as is. Well, CSX and NS say, no, you can't use the line as is. So it's been in the courts, and the court basically said, yes, Amtrak, you can use this line, but they still have to decide what improvements Amtrak will have to pay for to run passenger trains over the line without impacting it. So that's more Amtrak stuff. That's all the news that I have. Those last two articles, Stephen and Ryan are currently not here.
I am here.
But yeah. But that's all the news for today.
Are you Keemstar? Let's go, Roy.
Steven, you missed
Into the news!
You missed most of rail news. I finished up the rail news, and now we're on our discussion topic.
Cool.
So yeah. Let's get Ryan back because I think Ryan. Actually,
Yeah.
I need to go get some water.
Okay.
So I'll be. Why is it displaying? Oh, there we go. We'll be right back. I'll be right back. Steven and Ryan entertain the crowd.
Okay,
Alright,
so-
how you doing?
Okay, so basically,
There's this girl, okay?
hey, so
Yes,
there.
But when her name is Boomqueefa. Queefs, right? But these are the normal queefs. These are
Alright,
like
what are we talking about?
your Mondo McEpic queefs, okay? Okay?
What are we talking about? Hello.
Well, we're waiting for Michael to return so we can start the whole Amtrak debate.
Oh, it's a thing that
Or, like,
exists.
What things do
And
you
it has
like
a
on
lot
it?
of potential.
What things do you like
Alright,
about it? What things
so-
you don't like about it?
I think Amtrak I really like is that, well, they've stuck around for so long. They were created to fail, as we all know, but then they fucking did the underdog thing, and now they're here. Quality-wise, I actually quite like that. I don't know about you, Steven, but I quite liked the seats. The seats were very good. I felt that, yeah, a lot of the equipment is aging, and if you know where to look, it shows. But I mean, overall, I thought it was a very smooth and pleasant experience. I think that there's a lot of potential in Amtrak. I think that they need to look more into corridor service among everything else, because that's kind of the only area in which I see trains in America working the too short to fly but too long to drive market. So, that's my scoop on Amtrak. What's the others? Come on, Queen, spill the tea.
Steven?
Okay. When I was a naive train fan, before I rode the Silver Meteor to Washington,
That was
I
2
thought
weeks ago.
Amtrak was perfect. It was a perfect little railroad that no one could touch. Then I rode it. Then I saw the naked truth. By God,
Oh
by God, did I shat myself 4 times. But actually, things I like: the views. Beautiful views you can't get. I think they should stress the views more, because you can't get a view when you're focusing on the road. You can't get a view on a fucking plane. I think that should be their main focal point on long distance trains, like the Empire Builder, the California Zephyr. Hell, even the Silver Service has some really beautiful views of like the St. John's River Valley, the RFNP, Eastern Carolina's rolling hills. It's all gorgeous. Things I didn't like: some of the conductors were real assholes.
This is
Also,
true.
Things I didn't like were the fucking food. The food was garbage. I know it's not their fault. It's the whole stupid government mandate that you have to make money off of food service, despite the fact that no railroads have ever did that ever. So all the glamour is gone. When you get rid of the main glamour railroading, which was a dining car service, what more do you have left? Another thing I didn't like is how they kept the lights on at all times when you were asleep, so you really couldn't sleep at all. Also, things I didn't like were how many fucking stops there were. I can understand stops like Florence, South Carolina, and Jacksonville, where it's major metropolitan. Whereas people there and you have to restock the train and clean it and top it off. But I don't get stops like Denmark, South Carolina, or Kingstree, South Carolina, where it's just tiny one-horse towns that literally no one got on or off of. It's just a waste of money of keeping the station intact. Things I didn't like too were my ass pimple, because they wouldn't let us. They had assigned seats, which I just think that's kind of bullshit. That you can't really get up and you can't really roam anywhere. You can't go to the vegetable and go get some fresh air. No, you can't do that. You have to sit in your seat or go to the cafe lounge car. And because of that, I got an ass pimple. And trust me, man, ass pimples are kind of cringe.
They are.
I'm a be blunt.
Correct.
Ass people suck. Other thing I didn't like. Excuse me if it gets too ranty, but just this. Things didn't like. It was pretty hot in that train. It was pretty fucking hot. They should turn up the AC a bit more. Also the amphiletes. Dear Lord, please replace the amphiletes. Something lighter, something that looks better, something that's more comfortable for the short distance trips. I'm glad they are. Thank God. Good riddance. I fucking hate the amphiletes. They suck. They have a rough ride.
Jack?
No, one more thing I like about it, most of the stations were pretty nice. I was surprised. Nice and sanitary, so still good job with that. But final verdict on Amtrak, like what Ryan said, there's potential there, but we have to have more sense to realize it. And I agree, we should invest more in the corridor services and less in the more useless long distance runs.
Jack?
I mean, I'm. Oh yeah.
Mr. Falor.
Point of from the view of a rail fan, I think it's cool. Like I like seeing passenger trains and stuff.
Have you ever ridden Amtrak?
I did years ago. I rode the Missouri River Runner from Kansas City, Missouri to St. Louis, Missouri. It was interesting. We did have to get off like at Jefferson City because they were doing track work. We had to take a bus to like a little bit up the line and got into a completely different consist.
That although that's not normal, so
yeah. But it was so long ago, so I barely remember it. But I would say it was a good experience. I think like routes like that, like St. Louis to Kansas City, like those are routes that we need in Amtrak, in my opinion, because those are pretty damn profitable routes. Kansas City and St. Louis, big cities, big business, all yada yada yada. And
Speaking of, Jack, can I just interject something right now?
Yeah, what's up?
There is no train or direct, like a quote unquote, even like that much of a direct route for between Atlanta and Dallas.
Yeah, it
Huh.
really is. Like, really, you'd have to take like the
The Crescent. Actually, no. Fuck.
you
What
take the
train? It's the Eagle,
there's
right?
there's no eastbound. There's no east or westbound in Atlanta. It's just the Crescent.
Okay, so yeah, you would have to take
Oh,
the train between
Crescent.
New York and DC, and then the Capital Limited, right?
Actually,
Could
no,
I share?
you can take the Crescent
And
to
then
New
a train
Orleans.
down to St. Louis,
Uh,
and then the Texas Eagle down to Dallas.
Wait, no, you can take the
Guys, I
Crescent
think
to
Michael
New
would like to
Orleans.
say.
Could
I
I?
think
Could
I
I?
think Michael would like to share.
Yeah. So my experience with Amtrak has mostly been limited to the Northeast Corridor, which I live in Northern Virginia. Um, I have ridden the Capital Limited once, and that was a pretty nice experience. I do admit that the Amfleets are a bit of a rough ride. And
Isn't the
this
Capital Limited a bi-level
yeah, and
train?
that's what I was getting to. The Superliners, they are double level, but they're a much better, they're a much smoother ride.
Mm-hmm.
Food
I'm stuck in the
food on
retard.
um the Roomettes. What am I trying to? Let me just start with the Northeast Corridor. The Northeast Corridor is fine. The Amfleets are a rough ride, whatnot. Generally, like it's a 4-hour trip. You're not going to expect some fancy diner and whatnot. The Capital Limited, I rode the Capital Limited once to Pittsburgh and then once back. We got on at Harper's Ferry like at 7 o'clock. We arrived in Pittsburgh at like 4 a.m. And I at that point Amtrak was still doing the boxed lunch. They're probably still doing them now. The boxed dinner it was fine. It's about the quality that you could find something at like something you could pick up at a grocery store. But I like a lot of I'll eat most of anything, so it was fine for me. Heading back, the roomettes are fine. I really like the experience of Amtrak. And going over Sand Patch, and it was in February, so there was snow on the ground, and it was quite a beautiful experience. I'm not going to lie. But stuff that I do like about Amtrak is it's an experience. When you ride a train, it's not like you're riding a plane where you're just riding a plane to get somewhere.
Yeah.
Riding a train, obviously the views and get up and you can move around and you can meet people. On the Capital Limited, we didn't have, or on most Northeast Corridor trains, we don't have assigned seating. Assigned seating might just be a thing because of COVID. I'm not too sure.
Oh, we didn't have assigned seating the last time I went, as in like today.
That
So
fucking sucks. It was just the Silver Service. And one more thing, Michael. I was gonna say one more thing. It's real quick. Put the baggage car at the front of the fucking train, so the lower class people who purchase a coach can have a smoother fucking ride. Why do they keep put the fucking thing at the rear of the train, Michael? Can you explain to me why they have the baggage car at the rear of the train?
because it's easier to switch.
Yeah, but still, it's that
Also-
ride the passengers. I think the
also,
passengers
I
should be
just like
comfortable.
also I'd just like to point out that usually at the front of a train you actually have a smoother ride.
Well, we didn't.
Because when you think about it, right, what essentially happens is that once like a locomotive pulls out, like especially with longer consists, like the locomotive could already be going like 3 or 4 miles per hour, but the rear of the train haven't started yet. I mean, I understand that for like long ass freight trains, but the principle still kind of applies for passenger trains.
Well,
and I
Michael,
put a big
I rode
asterisk there.
Ryan. I rode at the very front coach of the Silver Star, and it was horrible. And I rode at the cafe car, which is in the middle, and it was fine. It was like gentle rocking.
Anyways,
So
could I
go
guess
on.
I'm going to explain what I think.
Interrupt that.
Well, something that I don't like about I do think Amtrak needs to expand corridor services. However, the main barrier towards that is any service under I think 740 miles, 750 miles has to be in part or fully sponsored by the states in which it runs through. That is that is a barrier towards expansion that I don't think makes a whole lot of sense because it actively prevents Amtrak from investing in certain corridors with the exception of stuff that they own, like the Northeast Corridor, for example.
And like the Michigan stuff, but you know, it's different.
The Michigan stuff is all supported by the Michigan Department of Transportation. I think that rule needs to be eliminated because if the states want to sponsor an Amtrak route, be my guest. Michigan has been sponsoring all their Amtrak routes for going on 50 years at this point. Virginia, they sponsor all their Amtrak routes and whatnot. They're doing a big expansion where they eventually want hourly service to Richmond, between Richmond and Washington. Virginia's going all in on Amtrak. But I think, say Amtrak, like the Hoosier State is a perfect example because the Hoosier State ran between Indianapolis and Chicago. And it was sponsored by the state of Indiana and Illinois, or mostly Indiana. A little bit of Illinois, I think.
Chicago's just
But
there.
there was a change in administration, and they didn't see the Hoosier State as valuable, so they yanked it. I think Chicago to Indianapolis could be a fairly valuable corridor for Amtrak, but the fact that Amtrak has to rely on the states for practically all of their corridor services outside of the Northeast Corridor, I think is a big hindrance. Second of all, the mandate that food services on trains should make money is absolutely stupid. Because no dining car in the history of any railroad ever has actually made money. I remember watching a promotional video from the Chesapeake and Ohio about the George Washington in 1940. And the narrator says, no railroad makes money on dining trains, on diner cars. It's used as a way to attract more people to the train. That was in 1940. That was 80 years ago. It's
also like, dining cars were they didn't need to make money because they were it was part of that luxury because people were just going to come to the train because they also know about the food and all that, as you said.
Yeah.
It was kind of just part of the experience.
For dining,
like,
listen, I don't think a dining car makes sense on something like the Missouri River Runner, which runs like 200 miles. The shorter
a cafe car would work.
Cafe car, yeah. Like even on say some of the Northeast regional trains that go down to Virginia, like some of the longer corridor services, like the Northeast Corridor is extended into Virginia now, and I think potentially a dining car on there, in addition to a cafe car, some kind of hybrid between the two would work. Because if you're on a train going from Roanoke to Boston for 8-9 hours, you're probably gonna want something to eat.
Actually, Michael, it's funny you should mention that. Like hybrid cafe diner cars.
Yeah.
You said? It's funny you should mention that. Back in the day, I think buffet cars were somewhat in between what you were looking for, but I think they were phased out because they were seen as like a necessity.
Yeah, buffet cars.
Like what we seriously could use is something like a better version of the automat. Something just a little better. Because, like, let's face it, all of the fucking snacks you can get on Amtrak, you can get in a vending machine. I hate to say it, but it's true.
I mean, yeah, the whole reason why they did the automat is the Southern Pacific had the, they were one of those railroads that intentionally made passenger services as worse as they possibly could, so no one could ride them, so they could just get away with discontinuing them.
Oh, and then what? Remind me again. Like the fucking government had a hissy fit, and we're like, "You're personally sabotaging this, right?"
Yeah, I don't care much. Despite the fact that we're having that conversation, I don't really care much about passenger trains or about Southern Pacific's passenger trains. I do know that in the late 80s. I do know that in the 1980s, the time on the Sunset Limited became so god awful that the government sued Southern Pacific. So that's another thing too. The equipment. Amtrak's equipment is old as all hell, and I will admit that it is being the Am fleets and the not the Viewliners. The Am fleets are being phased out. The P-42s are being phased out. We're getting new equipment. I think we're gonna have to end up replacing the Superliners rather soon as well, and stuff like
what was Super Liners? Oh.
Actually, Michael, it's funny you should mention the P-42 that was hauling our train today. The dirtiest piece of shit I've ever seen in the world.
Yeah.
For the love of God. But I do agree that, like, Amtrak's equipment, because I think the problem is that the underlying problem with Amtrak, I think, is that the U.S. government has not exactly been treating it to the best of its ability. Because, again, like, you look at something like the Empire Builder, California Zephyr, and all that, and, like, yeah, they're good to have, but nobody's using them. But we could subsidize those losses if we really go full steam with the corridor services. But it's all just a tangled mess right now. So I do think we need some government reform in terms of actually how like Amtrak gets budgeted and all that.
Right
'Cause I
now,
remember,
right now, corridor services and long distance trains seem very isolated from one another. If you treated now,
oh, absolutely.
I don't think long distance services. Yeah, they're nice to have, but I don't think they're particularly necessary for Amtrak to function, right? But almost treating, if you have to keep them, treat them almost like as an extension of those corridor services. Like, say,
Absolutely.
yeah, I think that might be the case. And obviously, the equipment issue is also that's a whole nother thing. That they are improving, but it's still fairly evident. Steven,
Yeah.
do you have anything to say, Steven, Jack?
About what, Amtrak or what? The
Yeah.
fucking coaches.
Anything? I mentioned equipment.
Yeah, Amtrak's fucking garbage. Just please, I'm glad you're scrapping them. I want to see them get scrapped with my own eyes and then piss on them.
Oh.
I can't stress how bad my experience was in the fucking Amfleets. I really cannot.
Yeah.
It's funny you should mention. It's funny you should mention. What is it
What?
about the Ampletes? I was gonna say something. Like, I think they were. I remember hearing. I mean, I know you could say this about every piece of Amtrak equipment, but the Ampletes especially were like particularly hit or miss with the general public. Like, I remember reading about that somewhere about like how it was very much like down party lines about whether or not you loved them or hate them.
Yeah.
Like, and
why they were designed to your specs of Budliners. But
Because the Amfleets were based off of the Metroliner train set. And
yeah,
Yep.
I don't want to call them Budliners. Jesus Christ.
already in the Metroliner train sets they work the Metroliner train sets were fine. Like, it was the first real high speed like modern high speed rail in the United States. American high speed rail. That's a high speed rail is a whole nother thing, but the one thing that sticks out of my mind is editor of Trains Magazine, David P. Morgan. He described the windows as rifle slots. When I look out of a window on an Amfleet, it feels like I'm looking out of a plane. And partially at the time, they wanted to make trains more airplane-like because they thought it would get more ridership, and honestly, it kind of did. For example, Amtrak brought in a bunch of marketing people off of airline companies.
I remember it was like Pan Am, and they like suddenly sold out the fucking Northeast corridor, and it was like an absolute zoo.
Yeah, like one of the first CEOs of Amtrak, I'm pretty sure came from an airline. I think no, not Roger Lewis. Roger Lewis worked in General Dynamics, but one of Amtrak hired early on. They hired a lot of airline people to come in and kind of market it for them. But like, obviously, trains are different from airplanes. I don't really know where I'm getting at with this.
Well,
Okay, but
okay,
yeah.
I'll tell you where you're going at this with,
I kind of
because I
lost
know
my
what you're.
thought.
Amtrak definitely like. I think we can all agree here that Amtrak's like biggest competitor has been the air, right? Like, it's what originally killed passenger service. Well, I was actually more the highways. My bad, I misspoke. But like Amtrak, Amtrak has always been trying to mimic, their more successful Big Brother, but I don't think they need to. Because taking the train, as like we've all said, it's its own experience. It doesn't need to be anything else. You can't really. A lot of also like an interesting thing we should bring up: people taking the train because it's the train. What do we think about that? Because there was just something about them.
People taking the train because it's a train, I don't think is a particularly viable way of doing
Well,
Amtrak.
absolutely.
Well, I think they should stress the scenic views on long distance fucking trains and just stress the speed and the relaxation on the Northeast corridor and the corridors, for fuck's sake.
I think it's easy as for us rail fans to say all the experience of taking the train. I do certainly think that there's an experience to it. It's just that, like, if you want people to get to regularly use Amtrak, you can't advertise it as like, say you live in New York. Like, my mom, she used to take Amtrak from Croton Harmon up towards, I think it was Syracuse. She went to college up there. I don't remember where exactly she took it. And she's like, yeah, the first couple of times it was quite an experience, but then you get used to it. She was a regular rider on Amtrak throughout, I think, most of the late 80s. And over time, it just kind of became kind of a thing that you just did. It no longer became an experience. So yes, stressing long distance experience, I think, will work to get people initially in there. But stressing the experience isn't going to work if you want people to continually come back to the train and do it more than just a kind of a one-off.
Trains where no one routinely takes, and only the Northeast corridor, where you stress the speed and you stress just the general fact that you have to worry about fucking driving through that same mess.
Yeah, I agree. I just the experience of a train, I think, is a thing that a lot of rail fans, when they're talking about Amtrak, they overstress.
Nobody has the same experience. Ryan had a great experience. I had a bad experience on both trains. I try to look at it through the views of a normal person.
Yeah.
Who didn't have the romanticization of trains in their mind. And that's also why I agree with Michael. You can't sell the experience because the experience can't always be great. And that's just false advertising, and no one likes that.
Yeah.
That's a fair point.
I would honestly sell it if I were. It's easy to say, oh, what I would do if I were in charge of X Railroad, but I've never worked for Railroad, so I honestly, as a member of the public and taking trains out of it, I also feel like, what am I trying to say? Amtrak isn't all that it exists. Let's take long distance trains out of the equation, because even back then, long distance trains, they were more convenient than they were now, but they weren't particularly they were convenient for the people who getting on at the end point. Going back to me getting off at the Capital Limited in Pittsburgh at 4 a.m. But I feel like if you just on corridor services, if you have to you could advertise the convenience of it, as in you don't have to drive, you don't have to go to an airplane, and if you actually do make it convenient, like in Virginia, they want Richmond to Washington hourly service by 2030. They've signed deals with Amtrak and CSX and a whole bunch of other people to begin the upgrades necessary, for those services. And that would be incredibly convenient. If I want to go to Richmond, well, then Amtrak would become more of an option. That's one thing that I think Amtrak, especially on corridor services, need, which is convenience. Because right now, with the exception of the Northeast Corridor, and even the Northeast Corridor to a certain extent, it's not particularly, you kind of have to go slightly out of your way in order to actually get on there. Long distance trains, as I said, are a whole nother thing. But anyways, anyone else?
All right, let's shift gears. Auto train. What do we think?
I think the auto train is a good concept.
It's an amazing idea.
The people talk about the auto train. Oh, what if we just did auto trains in more places? Well, I do think the auto train could work in a lot more places. I think part of the reason why the auto train works so well is because it's on that DC to Florida route, which already has a lot of people traveling over it already.
This is true.
Like auto train to even auto train to Louisville wasn't particularly successful. I do think it's an idea worth pursuing more.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan?
Only on highly popular routes that already are proven to be good.
I mean, it's an interesting idea about we talk about long distance trains and all that. And yeah, I definitely agree that they're going by the wayside. But I think that a big hassle with flying is that you have to rent a car when you get there, or you're dependent on whoever you're visiting as transportation. What if you could just take your car wherever you're going? That sort of, I think that there is definitely an experiment to have there. I'm not sure whether or not it will work the whole way, because I think that on every route, because I don't think there'll be demand, and plus, route issues on probably everyone.
Yeah, so, not every route is going to support an auto train service. You kind of need pick the 5 highest density long distance routes, and then try an auto train service with those.
Chicago and Los Angeles.
Yeah.
uh, Chicago, San Francisco.
Yeah, I mean,
Chicago- I
I'd
think-
try.
I think-
I'd try that.
Actually, let's look up. Let's look up 5 busiest Amtrak long distance trains. And
I think Chicago to New Orleans.
let's City New Orleans. So Northeast Regional, Acela Express, Pacific
No,
Surfliner.
first let me explain why.
Or Steven, you can explain.
So Chicago to New Orleans. There are a lot of rich people in Chicago. There are a lot of rich workers in Chicago and the surrounding area. Come wintertime, Chicago kind of blows. It's kind of freezing. Kind of sucks.
This is correct.
New Orleans is nice. New Orleans, great culture, great people, great food, and the surrounding coast along Mississippi. Free to go vacation with very rich vacation houses there for you and your family. But you want to go there, but you want to mingle with the common folk on the airplane per se. The city of New Orleans is nice, but so is the whole ordeal of getting cars down there and all that shit. So I think an auto train with a terminal in like Hammond, Louisiana, or somewhere between there, and the northern terminal at like Kankakee, Illinois, which not only includes Chicago, but the surrounding area where a lot of rich people live, would do well. Especially compared with great advertising, if you hit them right in the spot where they need it to be.
Play City of New
And all that.
Orleans as you get on the train, whatnot.
Yeah. Literally just play the city of New Orleans in downtown Chicago over and over again. I think that could work.
Okay, so up
Not
here,
be an interesting experience.
I have a list. Let me get this list up of the 10 most busiest Amtrak services. Now, the first, obviously, this is from Greater Washington.
Is these all like corridor trains?
Not all of them. The
The
top.
most?
Let's see. The number 1 is the Northeast Regional. The number
Okay.
2 is the Acela Express, but the number 3rd most busiest Amtrak train is the Pacific Surfliner. And if we look up,
Oh, that's like San Diego, Los Angeles. So
Pacific Surfliner Amtrak.
really, it's San Diego to like San Luis Obispo, I believe.
Yeah, this is another corridor service. However, the possibility. What's the travel time between San Francisco and like San Diego? Can someone look that up for me?
I will do that right now. Like
Yeah,
via
sure.
car.
I'll do that.
It's about 7-hour drive.
7-hour drive.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if you wanted to do like an auto train service, that might be an option. Keystone Service, Capital Corridor, San Joaquin, Cascades. Cascades is another corridor train, right?
Yes, I guess it runs between like Eugene and Vancouver. So
The Hiawatha, Chicago to Milwaukee, Lincoln. Okay, so the top 10 Amtrak services are all
they're all corridor trains.
they're all corridor trains. Top
Okay.
5 busiest long distance Amtrak stations in 2018: Chicago, Washington. Yeah, that doesn't. Okay, FY Fact Sheet 2016. Is there ridership? Apparently BNSF hosts the most Amtrak services.
I wonder why.
Is there any data?
I find this ironic that BNSF hosts the most Amtrak service because, like, if I remember correctly, they hated Amtrak when they tried to do MHC stuff. That's another thing too worth discussing.
What? Just
fucking-
all of Amtrak's attempted shit.
Yeah, that
All the
okay.
discontinued
Can we
routes.
just say this? For the railroad that wasn't supposed to exist, can we just give them a pat on the back for trying to like make it work? It's sort
Yeah.
of like the whole idea of it's the whole idea that you lied on your resume but you got the job and you're just trying to do it, you know? I think that's the perfect descriptor of Amtrak's story. Because like, it's Amtrak, it's the doodad.
Hold on.
But then suddenly
I'm trying to find
okay,
long
I'll be back.
distance. I'm trying to find long distance trains. All right,
If I would guess, the busiest would be is probably at the Capital Limited.
those are all state support. Long distance: Silver Star, Silver Meteor, Palmetto. All right, those are already served by the auto train. City of New Orleans is out of all the non-New York to Florida trains, City of New Orleans is the most ridden.
That's good to hear.
The second is the Crescent, which by the way, I drove past the Amtrak station in Atlanta. It's literally just like a concrete blocks.
No more Central Terminal.
Yeah, both of Atlanta's stations were demolished.
Big sad.
Yeah.
No, isn't Peachtree still around, but it's not used by Amtrak?
I actually don't know.
The Terminal and Union Station are both dead, which were the Atlantic West Point and the Southern Railway Station, respectively.
Yes.
And then Peachtree served the Southern Crescent into the late 70s. I think Amtrak used Peachtree now. It's just
Oh no, yeah, I drove past. Actually, yeah, Peachtree is still around. I drove past it. The thing about
but what's it
Peachtree
used
though,
for now? Just like a welcome center? I don't know.
it's still used by Amtrak, but it's up against a highway.
Oh yeah, fuck
Literally,
that.
it's next to the highway.
That's the Lorton, Virginia station, right?
Yeah, but the
Sorry,
Lorton,
next to the
Virginia
freeway.
station's an auto train station. Peachtree is still
That's
around,
true.
but it's sad and boring. But so City of New Orleans, Crescent,
Okay.
Cardinal, Capital Limited.
What about the chief? How busy is that?
Southwest Chief is the Coast Starlight. Out of all those
Southwestern.
Out of all the Western trains, it's the second busiest. The Coast
Huh.
Starlight is the busiest. That's another route where I think auto train services could
Oh yeah,
potentially
that's
What's the
is
Coast
that
Starlight?
is that Seattle to San Diego?
work. Yeah, that's
Okay.
I was confusing that with the Surfliner, but yeah, the Coast Starlight.
That's yeah.
So I think it might be a good idea to start off. Let's say say Kankakee to Hammond, like Chicago to New Orleans, Vancouver, or like Seattle to San Diego or something as an auto train service. I do
Or
know
like,
that there were
maybe like Tacoma or something like that.
well
near Seattle?
Tacoma, yes, because Tacoma is incredibly based. But
Yes, I
uh,
was born there.
wait, that's where you were born?
Yes,
I did not know that. That makes it
Yes, I
more
was born-
based now.
Yeah, I was born in Tacoma, Washington. Yes.
So
Oh.
yeah, Chicago, City of New Orleans, and I think Coast Starlight auto trains could work.
What about like on the Southwest?
Absolutely.
Actually, instead of the Southwest Chief, now that
Or
I'm looking
the-
at it, you know what might work as an auto train service?
Sunset Limited?
No, Sunset. Okay, so the most populated long distance services, seem to be in the West at least. Seem to be
Like in California and stuff.
the Empire Builder, followed by
Uh-huh.
the Coast Starlight, and then the California Zephyr.
Yeah,
So
those all go.
say you put auto train services on those three.
Hmm.
And then I think those might work. And then potentially a Chicago to say Harrisburg auto train might potentially work as well.
By Harrisburg.
Harrisburg is basically equal distance from DC, Philadelphia, Baltimore, and
I
Washington.
wouldn't see like vacationers though going from. I think the auto train works best if it's from a major population center to a
Sure.
vacation spot.
Or that too.
I think that's where it works better. But I
That's
guess
true.
like, you go experiment with Harrisburg because it's a location
Um,
for like New York. You can do with the Philadelphia. And,
I mean,
But-
auto train
Question.
California
Question.
services.
Um,
Yes, Ryan?
You guys hear me all right?
Barely.
yeah,
Can
you like a fucking potato. That's fine.
Oh shit.
Is your mic dead? What's
okay.
happening?
No, it's just my headset on the Grand Transit. They decided to crap out the last hour, and I was kind of tired of hearing you guys through my ear, so I decided to try and connect my AirPods, and I don't think that's worked. So I'm gonna connect. I'll be back again. Sorry.
Oh, that's fine, Ryan. But yeah, I think auto train service on one of the Chicago to California routes, and then City of New Orleans, and then the Coast Starlight, I think might work out well. Because
What about
California's a big destination spot. So
Yeah.
you go. There are a lot of people in the Midwest who go down south to escape the winters there. Say it's a very similar market to Florida, although New Orleans is obviously a that general region, of course, is a lesser tourism spot. but still pretty big.
Yeah. Or what about like the Texas Eagle, like from Chicago down to San Antonio?
I don't see no
I
because
wouldn't see either.
no because if we're going
Or
if
then
we're
Houston.
if we're gonna take the auto train model and say connect a major population center to a tourism spot,
So California.
I think equipping a Chicago to California train, probably the California Zephyr, and then the
Cheap,
coast.
but anyone made them work.
The California Zephyr is actually the second most ridden Western Amtrak train. The first
Right,
being
but-
the Empire Builder, but that doesn't go to California.
Wait,
Seattle.
Actually, question. Actually, there's a question about that. We have to worry about tunnel clearances, though.
Yeah.
Also, like, I
Oh.
think personally,
the Moffat Tunnel can.
I mean, also there's that and okay.
continue,
Wait,
Ryan.
finish? Oh, okay. So the whole idea, another thing is that Amtrak they're pretty stretched for motive power as it is.
Yeah,
So like,
these are
I
all
think
just
a route that isn't exactly like that hilly. So like, I think the Southwest Cheaton might be the best if they were to do
that
an
goes
Amtrak
over Raton
service, but
Pass. That's
on
a
all trains.
Yeah, that's a big issue there. It's for Tone
Ryan, that's like the hilliest of the hilliest out west.
yeah,
Oh,
and
never
yet,
mind.
yet again,
My bad.
these are all hypothetical, to be honest. Like, say Amtrak gets all the long distance chargers and whatnot, and they can use. Here's what I think is probably going to happen: they get all the long distance chargers, and then they don't exactly retire the P42s. They might like keep some around for some services to kind of like a supplement and whatnot.
Like for like quarter frames. Yeah.
Like how they kept the F40PHs as a supplement for like 10 years.
Yeah. Like last ones
If
were
I would
retarded.
test the Amtrak, I would try the city of New Orleans route first as my test dummy.
I'd try
Not as
the
long as California trains, and it would take less infrastructure because there's no major tunnels on the IC.
This is a fair point.
the Moffat tunnel is cleared for auto racks and double stacks. SP use that a lot.
Base?
Yeah, it is. That entire line is cleared for double stacks. I don't know about the Coast Starlight, although I'm pretty sure it's also cleared.
I'm 99% sure it is.
Hold up. Well, I'm gonna look up. Hold up. There's an easy way to tell. Done.
I like these theoretical things. I know, like the original Auto Train Corp wanted to go to fucking Denver. Neat. Okay, honey.
It's California Zephyr that goes through Denver, right?
Yeah, he goes to Denver.
That's also good.
Yeah,
for
but they
the
wanted-
terminal there in Denver because a lot of tourists go to Colorado.
I do know that back in the 70s, they looked into an auto train service from Harrisburg to Chicago and then Chicago to Denver.
Huh.
So if you were to put it on a long distance train, I think the Coast Starlight, if you were to open up a whole new service, Chicago to Denver, I think would probably be the best one to do it on.
That could work because
Also-
Colorado is such a massive tourist spot. So
Also, the former Southern Pacific route through the route of the Coast Starlight is indeed cleared for double stacks all the way.
okay. So another in terms of like other like theoretical corridors, like in terms of corridor trains, I think one that would really work is like something like between like San Antonio, Dallas, and Houston.
Okay, Coda has provided a good good tip that might doom our Coast Starlight plans, our Pacific Surfliner plans. The thing is that no one rides the Pacific Surfliner point to point. Yeah, but
Like, who wants to go from San Diego to San Luis Obispo?
No, I keep confusing the Pacific Surfliner and the Coast Starlight. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Okay.
I mean the Coast Starlight.
I mean, the coast.
Okay.
The coast. Okay, might I just say, unrelated note, the Coast Starlight might have one of the best names in the history of names, maybe even ever.
Yeah.
Because it was originally
It
supposed
can't
to
be.
Daylight, but now you changed it to Starlight. Starlight Express.
Starlight Express.
Yeah, I don't
answer
think
me.
now that I think about it, I don't think a Pacific Surfliner auto train wouldn't work. A Coast Starlight
No.
auto train I think would work. Any other non-auto train services? I'm gonna kind of shut up now because my mouth is getting dry. Where's my water?
Like I said, corridor service between Houston, Dallas, and San Antonio.
Quarter
Especially-
service on the FEC, make it
Actually-
happen for our sake.
Actually, you know what could? I think what we generally need is we need something like the Northeast Corridor, but through the general South. You know, Because
Like,
what we're currently faced with is that I think because there are a lot of big population centers in the South, and I do think that there is a market in which that a train like the Northeast Corridor that makes for frequent stops and like almost it's a quasi commuter service.
Ryan,
I think there might be a market for that somewhere in
I
the
think
South.
that'll best be implemented in North Carolina between Charlotte and Raleigh via the tech tree cities, where a lot of people commute.
Doesn't there's already a train that serves that?
Yeah, which is why it's even better. Let's say if like they electrify it somehow, even though they'll be a bitch and a half, because that railroad is owned by the state of North Carolina and leased by NS, and then Amtrak just runs on that. It will be a bitch and a half, but that was electrified. I see it becoming a Southern NEC.
I
Oh,
opened
yeah.
up I opened up the Amtrak 2035 map. They extended corridors.
What is this speed? Oh, that's iconic.
I will call it the Crescent Corridor because A, Southern, and B, it's shaped like a crescent moon, which is based.
Yeah, like something like maybe Raleigh, Greensboro, or like Wilmington, Raleigh, Greensboro, Salisbury, Charlotte.
I wouldn't see Wilmington because in between Wilmington and Raleigh, there's nothing, and it's a quite indirect route.
I'm thinking because actually my dad he said if there was like an Atlanta to like Charlotte train, he would just park his car in Charlotte and then ride the train to Atlanta. So like a Birmingham, Atlanta, Greenville, Charlotte train like corridor, and that's listed on this map. So is Nashville, Chattanooga, Atlanta, Macon, and Savannah based Nancy Hanks.
I could see an Atlanta to Charlotte service too. There's a separate corridor with line to Athens, perhaps, or even via Athens, and it switches hands somewhere along the line.
Yeah. Any other?
Oh,
Let's take a look at
absolutely.
this. Anything interesting you guys see on this?
Here, send the map.
You're not sharing your screen, by the way. If that's what you mean to do.
Just tell me where you're
Okay.
looking, and I'll move it.
New services.
Mobile to New Orleans. I can see that tying into my auto train idea because it can take people directly.
Amtrak. That's Mobile to New Orleans is probably going to happen within the next year or two.
Which is great.
Honestly,
may I
I'm
point out-
surprised. There's nothing between like Phoenix, Tucson, and Flagstaff.
Tucson. There's a Tucson to Phoenix.
Yeah,
Indo Riverside line.
that's brand new.
They're going to if they want to do that, they'd have to restore the Southern Pacific line the West Phoenix line because that's been out of service for God knows how long.
I'd just like to point out that South Dakota has a grand total of no Amtrak
That's
services.
when this map was first released, the governor of a South Dakotan senator complained about that. It's like it's a national system, yet we're not a part of it.
And who the hell wants to go to South Dakota? No one. So my point is
funny enough. I mean,
all of South Dakota's railroads are secondary lines.
This is a fair point.
I mean, there's Mount Rushmore.
I really like the idea of Atlanta to Savannah because there's a lot of Middle Georgians who vacation at the budget suites in Tybee Island around Savannah. So I see that being a big success.
I see the Nashville Savannah corridor being kind of one thing. But
one thing I'd like to see, and I'm surprised it hasn't gone to thought, would it be an Albuquerque to Phoenix corridor? Because I talk to a lot of people here, and they say, "Oh, I go to Phoenix all the time." Like there's surprisingly just this huge traffic inflow between Phoenix and Albuquerque.
Because it's pretty indirect route, like down to El Paso and then to Phoenix, or like if they rebuilt the old ATSF branch side down to Prescott and Phoenix.
Front Range Rail, Pueblo, Cheyenne to Pueblo. There were a lot of people who wanted that extended to Albuquerque.
Yeah.
Is this
makes sense?
Do they want to extend the Heartland Flyer up to Newton, Kansas? That's really weird. Iowa City, Iowa. Return of the Quad Cities rocket.
Return of the Rock.
Anything else particularly interesting?
Chicago, thank God. It's just a shame we have that newer. That's
Nashville to Chattanooga? Savannah to Nashville? What?
Yeah.
No. Yeah, if you were listening to us, I said Savannah to Atlanta, shrewd move. I'm not so sure about Nashville, but Chattanooga to Atlanta I see being a big success.
Okay, I think you might have to Based on this, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that Nashville to Savannah is all one corridor. But if you were to split into two, I'd probably split it into Nashville to Atlanta, and then Atlanta to Savannah, and then have Atlanta to
I would do that
Montgomery be a
too.
separate thing.
I would not bother with Nashville because it's stupidly indirect. I would just bring back the Tennessee at that point between like like Washington and Memphis
mean-
by Chattanooga and Huntsville. I think that service would do good,
Yeah.
I'm also seeing Indianapolis to Louisville.
which I think is good. I think
That is very
we
good.
should have that.
That
earlier.
if they want to use the former Pennsylvania Railroad, that's a very busy line.
Yeah, because it's the fucking Louisville and Indiana road.
Yeah,
Use the Monon.
CSX uses it. The Monon was ripped up.
Well, we lay it and electrify it.
Said nobody seriously ever. DC
Yeah,
to
Let's
Boston.
restore it and run it on the main line.
DC to Boston auto train, says Burlington fan.
James.
I don't think that would work.
No.
The Boston to Concord, I like.
They do want to extend it out to Rockland, which the river.
Yeah, which is Big Base Maine Eastern.
Yeah, right now it's actually the Central Maine and Quebec got the contract
Yeah,
in
now it's
2016.
CP, right?
And now the rumor going around is that the Finger Lakes Railway is going to be the one to operate it.
It's been the old like Rockland line is like a fucking it's just being just abused by every railroad.
No, because it's owned by the state, and every 10 years or so, the contract comes up from renewal, and they have to choose a new operator each time. And,
That's so retarded.
And Canadian Pacific doesn't want to operate this little isolated section between Brunswick and Rockland that sees like no traffic. So they basically said you have like 2 years to find a new operator, and we're pulling out. Is that Toronto to Detroit? The line through the proposed corridor through southern Canada is interesting.
I like that.
Would that be like a Chicago to Buffalo thing, or?
I could see it doing that.
Oh, last podcast, remember that?
And
how we just got absolutely mad at those people.
More people.
The people who wanted to like add like 3 new Chicago to New York trains, saying it would be like
those
a precursor
guys, yes.
to high speed rail.
Also, please, Lord, Mobile to Jacksonville. Please, Lord, make it happen.
This is
Please.
I wonder what the Florida Gulf and Atlantic thinks about passenger rail.
That would be amazing, and they keep the searchlights the best part.
Yeah. Anyways, are we done with this conversation? Or does anyone else want to?
Okay, I'll have my closing remark. I think Amtrak with Conrail up there with Conrail, I think is like one of America's greatest success stories. They've got a great base right now. I think it's just where they can take it. I hope it's a thing when we're in our 40s and 50s because I hope that like we're becoming more environmentally conscious and we're going to take the train more. I hope. So yeah, that's my final closing remark on the National Passenger Rail Corporation. Otherwise known as
a Minneapolis to Duluth Bob Dylan service. Dear Lord, make it happen.
No. That was an actual service. It used to be called the Arrowhead. It was great.
Damn it. Well, we'll call it the Bob Dylan now. Damn it. Make it happen.
Call it the North Country.
Oh, yes. Actually, the North Country Corridor is not a bad name at all.
The problem is that there's like nothing between Minneapolis and Duluth.
Exactly.
It ran between like I think it was cut back, like it was a corridor. It used to be like a. It ended up being cut back. Yeah, there's nothing. Like, what are you gonna stop in Hinckley, Minnesota?
Yeah, we're stopping Hinckley, and then we'll get everyone off at Hinckley and bus them to Toronto. It'll be great.
Yeah, I think Minneapolis. The part of the reason why the Arrowhead has an interesting history because, it's like it started off as like like Burlington Northern had it, right? Because Burlington Northern operated passenger trains for a year. And then Amtrak picked it up, and then it was cut during the 1979 cuts. But then the state of Minnesota picked it up and continued to run it until like 1985. But there has been, I'm pretty sure that there's a group that actually wants to, I think it's called like the Northern Lights Express or something.
That is not a bad name.
How could we forget?
Yeah, it's called the Northern Lights Express. They want to do a train between Minneapolis and Duluth stopping at Superior, Hinckley, Cambridge, and Con Rapids, Foley. So,
But how can we forget the Seaboard airline they want to bring back a service to between Petersburg and Raleigh, the Old Virginia division? Dear Lord, make it happen. It'll be gorgeous and beautiful. And
anyways, I think we've gone on long enough. Anyone's closing thoughts on the National Railroad Passenger Corporation?
Amtrak. Yeah,
All aboard!
But the execution isn't. Just get rid of the amphitheater and assigned seats, and I'll get a lot more. Thank you.
Floor. Anything about you?
I like P-42s. They're cool.
They are cool. I love the horns. Okay, Michael.
Amtrak is a very interesting railroad, possibly one of the most interesting railroads that exists. I don't really care much about passenger trains, but whenever I do actually ride Amtrak or go into deep diving in Amtrak, I do thoroughly enjoy it. There's a lot of potential. I do think we are heading in the right direction, and at least some of these services, like New Orleans to Mobile and the Rockland branch and the Northern Lights Express and whatnot. I don't think all of these services on this map will be put into effect, but a lot of them I think will, and I think we are generally headed in the right direction. Trains are cool. I like riding them.
This is correct.
There.
Caboose reviews?
Caboose reviews!
Let's go!
Reviews. But, Michael, you're not sharing your screen. Can we see the caboose?
Yes, I need to know.
Show the caboose.
Hold up,
Come on,
I'm not
show.
showing the caboose on stream. Now I am.
Okay.
So,
Alright, what are we rating? What is
Yeah.
this? Oh wow. You know what? It looks like a Norfolk and Western caboose that just got massively just crushed. And I hate it, so scrap it.
this looks like something you would find in like a cutesy like train drawing, like clip art,
Train clip art?
or like a model train set with a really condensed caboose, like a really cheap like plastic model train set with a caboose.
Yeah, no,
caboose.
it's the grocery store train set caboose.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
So
McLeod River
train set.
Railroad is pretty based. No scrap. If I had nuts drawing, I would show it, but yeah, no scrap.
okay.
I give this a Dunsmuir, California out of 10.
What I think is it gets very hot in Northern California. And the fact that it has built-in air conditioning with the absence of windows, it's fucking base. It looks like a rusted just hulk of a caboose. It's my favorite caboose from the No Scrap Railway. It does. I agree with Ryan. It does look like a set I would get in like a Winn-Dixie train set for free. When I got a question right at the Winn-Dixie trivia event, God rest his soul. Final score, 8 out of 10.
I gave it mashed potatoes out of gravy.
Never forget the one time I found a train set at Winn-Dixie I really, really wanted, and my dad said no, and I threw a fucking temper tantrum where I knocked down a fucking whole line of beans. And it was great.
All right, this is the long
What is
booze.
this?
I've seen
That
this
is the
before.
thick boy.
I've
That's the thick boy.
I've seen
What?
this before.
I
This is a
hate it.
Department of
I
Defense caboose.
I hate it.
No wonder.
Okay, you know what? This looks like something you'd see out of fucking DeviantArt. -3 out of 10.
Listen, this is any caboose. It's the heat chamber. It's the cum slasher. It is the
Oh,
long boy. And it is blue. I like the blue. It's FEC. It's trying to masquerade at FEC. You know, all the cool cabooses are wearing FEC drip and it wants to fit in.
This reminds me of one of those like really long like wooden caboose that were like converted from boxcars in like the 1800s. Also, I don't think I've seen this exact type of caboose, but I've seen a caboose, another Department of Defense caboose that is similar to this.
Very
So-
nice. As I was saying, we were interrupted. I really like it. It's long. It is thick. It is smoking. 10 out of 10. Long. out of 10.
I give it a Minuteman missile out of 10.
Nice.
Let's see, it looks like an armored. It just looks like an armored caboose. I'm
Tactical warfare caboose.
I'm surprised those trucks are still intact because that looks like a lot of weight there. If it were like a 6-axle, I would like it a lot more. So I give it a
Yeah,
5 out of 10.
it's a bit
6-axle
long.
caboose. If someone has a picture of a 6-axle caboose, send it in.
8-axle caboose. Okay, Ryan, opinions?
I've already stated them. I
Oh,
think
you
it
did? Okay,
looks
never mind
god
then.
awful.
Next
It looks like
caboose.
something
Next
you see on
caboose.
DeviantArt.
Next caboose.
Next caboose.
The
Next, caboose.
Burlington fan says the cumboose. This is City of Prineville Railway,
The
so it's an
cumboose.
instant 100 out of 10.
I
Okay.
quite like I like the marker lights. It reminds me of something.
Set
The yellow
custom status, the
reminds me of the
caboose.
Baltimore Annapolis. I'm giving this. I too give this 100 out of 10 and a seal of approval and a kiss on the cheek.
Oh, that's sweet. City of Prineville Railroad, very based railroad in Oregon. I love how it has eyes. It's just like, yeah,
It's like-
look at how happy I am. I'm in Oregon. Isn't this beautiful? Aren't I perfect?
It is.
Yellow, I
Yeah.
like the yellow. I like the black stripe. Overall, a nice little caboose. It's definitely an old CNO, like northeastern caboose, which they ended up everywhere.
That is federal yellow. Yes, that is a CNO
Which is-
caboose.
Insane. The fact that this big ass caboose went all the way from like the northeast to here, out in Oregon. I give it a 9 out of 10. It's a very nice boost. Jack?
I like the use of the yellow. I do like how it's kind of looks like a morph of a Pitts of Pennsylvania and like a Reading and slash or CNO and slash or WM caboose.
Yeah, the northeast caboose design is very hot.
I give it a 9 out of 10. I like the use of the yellow. It looks
Right.
good. Oh boy. Presidents of the United
Nice
States.
micro trains.
Yeah, it's fucking microtrains.
Michael, do you recognize that caboose?
Wait a second.
Yeah,
Oh,
put
no.
the airline on and put
Yeah.
you literally crushing it with your bare hands. You
Oh
have a
my
video.
god.
Butterball.
No, it's not Butterball. No, it's the Seaboard Airline a caboose you killed out on
Oh,
my layout. in
it's that!
2019.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's
All
fine,
right,
but
this
I
is-
love it. I love how it's implying that all 50, like 40,000 like delegates of presidents are all riding this tiny ass crammed caboose.
That's Hubert Humphrey's caboose.
Yeah, it's Hubert Humphrey's ass chamber. I love it. 10 out of 10.
I'm giving this caboose because it's a fucking microtrains product. So they're good. They actually make really good
Oh,
stuff.
great.
I give
But I,
this-
I cannot. I give this like a maybe a. I'm giving this like a 7.75. I'm giving this a 7.75 out of 10.
I'm giving this a Richard Nixon out of 10.
Watergate.
I'm giving this a Donald Trump out of Joe Biden.
Very good.
Okay. I was
oh
in-
boy!
I was in Cub Scouts for one day, and they were talking about woodshop class, and the instructor was teaching us how to do woodshop, and he cut his finger off. It was great. So thank you for resurrecting that memory of him showing off his cut finger to scare us all. This caboose speaks more to me than anything I've ever seen in my entire life. It not but symbols the mighty economy of the United States, but it also shows the other side of the U.S. that we don't like to talk about. In those dark windows lies the war crimes we committed in Vietnam, horrible things we did. This is not a caboose; it is the American experience as a mailbox, as a wooden caboose mailbox. 7 out of 10
I
for
don't even
America.
think this is a mailbox. It's
I'm
just a
whatever.
caboose.
I'm completely with Steven. This is quite possibly the most riveting metaphor for the American life today that I cannot even. I personally think that this caboose needs to go preserved in some sort of national archive. As I think
Smithsonian.
yeah, it needs to go on the Smithsonian. And personally, I think that this caboose can solve world hunger. It's such a powerful symbol of it's a powerful symbol. I'm giving this caboose a
Thank you, Ryan.
1776 out of 10. And
Listen.
Jack?
It is. Wait, no, Jack, go.
You know what? I'm heavily inspired by what the rest of you have said. I'm disappointed that there's no McDonald's logo on it, but that's okay.
That would make it
Yep,
better.
yep, I would be.
Wait, no, hold up. Fuck, we're doing
Ah.
this. We're doing this right now. We're doing this right fucking
What are we
now.
doing? No, Michael!
Hello, McDonald's logo. All right.
Oh no!
No, it's just an M. It's just a yellow M. Just put a yellow M anywhere.
No. I actually gotta do it. Like the fuck, wrong color.
Oh my god!
Yes!
Yes!
Michael, listen, everyone. But back to my discussion. That adds a twist to irony to it all, because us Americans, we truly cannot thrive without our Mickey D's. So now this
Yes.
is truly the American experience in wood and
I'm completely with Steven.
I am with Steve.
so powerful.
Never hamburger.
Listen. It's Santa Fe, so I instantly have to give it a 0.
hey!
More specifically, I give it a Southern Pacific out of Santa Fe.
Thank you,
I
Mike.
should have waited for that joke when we had a caboose painted up in Kodachrome, damn
Next
it.
caboose, or final caboose for
That-
Christ's sake.
This is the final caboose, unless anyone
Okay.
has another caboose.
No, this is good. This is a good amount, like 5 cabooses. Gentlemen, final statements.
It's been a great time It's been a great time on the podcast. I'm sorry to go, but unfortunately, Greenland awaits.
Ryan,
Right.
it's been a blast. I truly appreciated you in this podcast. It was so
Thank
much
you
fun.
for joining us, bro.
Yes, yeah, you added a special energy that we can't truly replicate. But by God, we will.
Listen, Ryan, whenever we can get you back on the podcast, we will, 100%.
Yeah.
Actually, it would be interesting because Greenland is, let's just say Greenland is 6 hours ahead. What if we did this at like...
It's 5 hours ahead.
Okay, but we could just do this 5 hours earlier and we could still have Ryan.
Well, 5 hours.
I don't
earlier.
know.
I don't know if that will work. We'll figure it out.
I don't know. Yeah.
We still don't have a guest
Okay.
for next week, though.
We haven't had a guest this week.
But everyone in chat say thank you, Ryan, because he made this podcast truly special. Okay, next final statement, anyone?
Sometimes life is ridiculous and crazy. Rip Curly the dog.
Yes, rest
Oh,
in
yeah.
peace, my boy Curly. May
unironically.
he work in heaven.
This is dedicated to
This
Curly the dog.
podcast is.
This
Yeah, I just wanted to-
podcast, which is in my opinion the best episode we've ever done, is dedicated to Curly and my grandmother.
This is.
Steven's grandmother as
This
well,
is
because she
correct.
died this past week as well.
She did not die. She passed on.
She went to the big Florida in the sky.
The big.
God damn! You went to the Miami in the sky.
It's like Spirit in the Sky, but it's Miami in the sky.
Yeah, it's only Miami in heaven, and that's it. It's like you, like what?
Final thoughts. Thank you, Ryan. As I said, we'll try to get you back on the podcast whenever we can. I don't know. It's all downhill from here.
It's all that. This is our peak. Us comparing
Have fun,
this
guys.
wooden ATSF like mailbox to the American experience is the peak of the podcast.
Look at raccoon announcement.
Someone needs to put my transcript script into recruit announcements.
Yes, don't worry. We'll type it up. We're gonna have Chris Kovac recite it. No, that's
Okay.
it. We're gonna type it up. We're gonna have Chris Kovac recite it.
Jack, final statement.
I think Wendy's makes good burgers,
They are good.
and Colombia will not exist in 2 years.
Here's my final statement. You know, I'm a simple man. I like big butts. And I cannot lie. I really cannot lie. All right, thank you.
Take us out, Ryan.
Take us out, Ryan.
Hello,
Magic
this has
Man.
been Steven Ocheski. This has been Jack Floor. This has been Michael von Velakis. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this has been the Blue Streak Podcast, calling at all stops in between. I'm Ryan Loebner. Thank you, and good night.